We don't get to start with basketball right away, unfortunately, because it was a little bit of news over the weekend. Was Ja Morant? He's getting got a 1-game suspension from the team for conduct detrimental. He had words for his coaching staff following a loss to the Lakers on Friday. Here he is.
What went wrong to you today?
Go ask the coaching staff.
Do you feel like, there was anything you could do differently, I guess?
You ask them. They had a whole spiel in here, so.
From the outside, and the outside may be wrong, but from the outside, it didn't look like you had your usual energy tonight.
Go ask the coaching staff why.
Okay. You feel like you should play more?
Go ask the coaching staff. Should I play more or not?
What could have been done different to get a different outcome other than asking the coaching staff?
According to them, probably don't play me, honestly. That's what basically the message was after, so it's cool.
The coaching staff message was it?
It's cool, man. We good?
You didn't have anything physically wrong in terms of illness or anything?
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Ooh, it's cool. And it doesn't seem like it's cool at all. He only had 8 points and seemed pretty unengaged, basically overall, Boogie. What are your initial reactions to that?
It's time to move on. This ship is sailed. I think the Grizzlies have made their decision on who they're siding with when they decided to suspend Ja Morant. Obviously, they're siding with this coaching staff. This was a coaching staff that was brought in with a militant style of coaching. Doesn't blend well with everybody. Doesn't blend well with modern-day basketball. So that's something that's, embraced overseas in the European League. They like the military style because they also lack talent where we don't. So they have to be more fundamental. They have to be well coached to cover up in those other areas. So this style of coaching combined with this modern day of basketball is a recipe for disaster, and it's showing.
Yeah, I'm with Boogie, and I took to Twitter and said adios Memphis, because how do you not think that when you watch this video? And that's frustration. That's clearly him not feeling the system that in which they're playing. When he said ask him, I took that directly at the head coach. And again, like Boogie said, you don't fire Taylor Jenkins and roll with this new coach, this new staff, if this isn't the coach that you think for the future, more so than Ja Morant. So you can just tell he's not happy. He's frustrated. They're not a contender. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. So this is just going to keep boiling and boiling. And Ja Morant, listen, he's still an extremely, extremely elite talent. We know his production, what he can do on the court. But when you start seeing things like this, and we know the off-the-court issues last year, things are adding up. Frustration's adding up. They move off Desmond Bane, who was his guy. They get off Dylan Brooks, who was a big part of that team. It just seems like there's about to be some heavy turnover. And it's crazy not to thank Ja Morant on the Memphis Grizzlies, because he's been the face of that team for a long time, alongside with Jaren Jackson Jr. But this team's in trouble. They're in a real difficult spot. And clearly their star, their franchise player, is frustrated, is not happy, and seems like he wants to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, you know what? For me, it's this, right? Chandler, you just mentioned it, and it's hard not to mention it when you have these scenarios, right? Like, you've had your off-court issues, and that's a fan base that stood beside you. They fought for you. They defended you. They had your back. They were rolling. You couldn't tell the city of Memphis no wrong with Ja Morant. And then when you look out there on the floor, you see that effort. You kind of gotta pay attention to that, and you gotta read the room. Like, you owe that fan base more than that. Now, do you have issues with your coaching staff, organization? Sure. Anybody that's put on a uniform at some point has had issues with the team that they play for. And we might pout a little bit. We may whine. We might do the things in the media. But you always can control your effort on the floor. On the defensive end, he was unengaged. You can tell he was trying to make a point. On the offensive end, he wasn't attacking. He wasn't going downhill, trying to put any pressure on them. And it looked like he was going through the motions. And then you have a coaching staff that pulls you because you're going through the motions. And then you're upset about them pulling you for going through the motions. So, I understand the part where you're not feeling the coaching staff. I understand the part you might be forcing their hand to try to move on and do something different. I understand all of those things. But when it comes to your effort on the floor, you owe the fan base more than that, man. They supported you 100%. with everything that you went through. No matter what any market said about you outside of Memphis, they were rolling. So for those fans to still come out and support you and still defend you the way that they do, I just feel like his on the floor effort, the fan base deserve more than that. Now, what's going on behind closed doors? Let the powers that be fight that fight. Let your agent fight that fight. Let your manager fight that fight. Let those people that represent you fight that fight. But when you lace up, you owe the fan base more. And for that part, I was a little disappointed in Ja because of how he was playing on the floor, because of those fans, because of his kids. It was a resurgence in his shoes being sold. Like, his shoe was one of the favorites that's out there. These kids are still supporting you. That means they're still watching. That means they're still impressionable, and you're still making a big impression on these young kids and that fan base. And to go out and play like that because of an internal issue that you having with the team, I just wasn't feeling that part. So, it has gotten to a point where of no return for Memphis as an organization and for Ja as an individual.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, no matter how good and talented Ja Morant is, all the things that he's had to go through and all the issues he's had, he's still auditioning for the 29 other teams to want to invest in him, to want to make a move to even get him, assuming he's unhappy. And when you start talking about lack of effort, you're not, and you're messing with the game, as guys say and coaches say. That's not okay. And again, I agree with Lou there. That's an unprofessional approach to take to quit on your teammates and to not give your full effort. And that's what we saw in that game the other night. So as much issues as I've had with coaches and there's a lot of ups and downs throughout the season, it can't alter your effort, because that is just an extremely bad look around the league. It's a bad look for yourself. And listen, I know first and foremost how quickly these Memphis Grizzlies fans can turn on you. And Ja Morant has done a lot of stuff for this franchise. It's going to take a lot, and I think he's their guy regardless. But not playing as hard as you can and quitting, and then optics-wise saying these type of things, basically quitting on your team and to go ask the coach, that's not a leader. That's not a franchise player. You don't say things like that when you're in that position. So at the end of the day, if I'm 29 other teams, I have to look at all this other detrimental conduct that he's now doing every single season. Does that outweigh his talent?
Okay, so I'm glad that's sort of where this path has taken us. Boogie, and I'm going to start with you on this. Given all of that, right? I mean, we're talking about fans standing by him, everything that's sort of gone down with his time in Memphis. And it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page that his days are numbered there in that city. That being said, given all the data, is a contending team going to be willing to take a chance on him, or is this going to be a situation where he just sort of gets shipped off to another rebuilding town?
I would say absolutely. This is a top talent in this league. He's electric when his game is on. He's one of the top players in the league. But I don't want us to get distracted of this moment, and then that starts to take away from this kid's talent and what he's done so far in this league. And I also look at this situation as, this wasn't a season where we thought this was going to be a contending team. Like, let's be honest, it's not much talent on this team. I think they were going to have a bad year regardless. And he didn't help the situation by giving them the ammo. But this is also where it can become the blame game. Let's focus on, the negative parts that we saw in this game, because the previous game before this, he had 30 points against Phoenix. Now we come into this game and we're talking about lack of effort and all these other things. It was a situation where, it was frustration in the game, and it should have been left in that moment. It shouldn't have carried over. So I look at both sides. I look at Ja and I look at the coaching staff. Because like I said, the previous game, it was a 30-point game and everything was all good. And he was the franchise guy and the leader of the team and doing everything right. So one game later, we're now shifting the narrative again, and that's just not how this works. It's now becoming the blame game. This was a shitty season from the beginning. It's not much talent on the roster, and you guys weren't winning this season. So let's not start making this about Ja Morant. Yes, he's had his mistakes. Yes, he's done wrong, but he's been a professional ever since. He's doing things. He's been trying to lead to the best of his ability. And frustration is a part of sports. Let's stop acting like it's not. If you disagree, it's because you're a nerd and you never played the game. That's simple as that. Frustration is a part of sports. If you think we're not human beings, if you think we don't have emotions when we're playing on the field, on the court, or whatever respective sport we're playing, that is a part of the game, and this is the part that pisses me off. Stop dehumanizing these people. Stop acting like people aren't human beings. Stop acting like people don't have feelings, because it's a real thing, and you can't sit here and just turn it off like it's a switch in life. That's not how life works. But to talk about Ja as well, he does have to handle these situations differently. He does have to be more professional. And like Lou and Will said, you owe it to the fan base and you owe it to yourself to go out there and perform at a high level every night. That's on his part. Cool.
That's my beef, Boogie. Like, all things aside, yes, he's human. Yes, we all go through things. Yes, we all frustrated. Control what you can control, though. You can control that effort on the floor.
Absolutely.
You can still go out there and bust the other team ass and be frustrated with your coaching staff. You can still go out there and do that. You can still perform at a high level and still tell your coaching staff, I'm still not pleased. You can still go out there and go get another 30 ball and say, hey, man, go talk to him why X, Y, and Z not working. You can still do those things. And so for that, for me, don't give anybody ammo to dehumanize you. Don't give anybody ammo to keep talking about you. You've already had your issues. So I'm not saying that he should walk on thin ice or eggshells, but he got to read the room. Like, again, this is a great summer for Ja Morant to come back in re-energized. I'm out there on that AAU circuit. It ain't nothing but Ja Morant shoes on these kids' feet. They love Ja.
And that's because he's the player that he is. That's because he's
the player that he is. But
and that's the point. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you good. Get it off your chest.
That's the point I'm trying to make as far as, now we're moving forward and we start to question his talent. We look at the landscape of, the impact that he has on children, these young athletes. It's all there, and that's because of his play. That's because of his charisma, and that's because of his talent. So, and that's the point I'm making. Regardless of what the situation is.
But you know what else, Boogie?
What's that?
You know what else? The numbers are down 3 straight years. Consistently. So when I say read the room,
3 straight years.
Yeah. So when
the talent has been down, that's the point. They've been worse and worse every season.
Every season, and I'm agreeing with you here. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Read the room. Chandler just said it. Even if you're not happy here, you auditioning for 29 other teams. Go out there and kick somebody's ass anyways, and deal with everything else. Control what you can control. Go out there, bust everybody ass, and let the powers. I know you got a strong team. Let your team fight that fight. And if you're frustrated, you still can fight. You still can say, I ain't happy here, whatever, but you got to go out there and put it on the floor. That's my only beef. All the other stuff, that's for everybody to argue. For me, when you step on the floor, you got an obligation to your fan base, to your fans, to show up and show out. That's all.
And there's certain conversations, right, that happen in that locker room that happen right after the game, that they're heated, they're emotional.
Absolutely.
And the coach went in and they challenged Ja Morant right after that game, right? Ja has to have the maturity and the stability to not go and make that conversation public. I think that's now where it gets hairy. That's now where it brings in people and shows like us that are now going to nitpick and pick him apart about his behavior based on what he's doing now and what he's done last year and all the issues he's had before. It's never been about the talent with this dude. This dude is high octane, one of the most fun players to watch in the league. There's a reason he got his contracts. There's a reason kids wear his shoes. He is fun to watch. He is explosive. He is the entire heart and soul of this Memphis Grizzlies team, alongside with Jaren Jackson. And they have put some pieces around them, but they haven't given him a contender in all reality. So they fired their coach, which I never saw that coming. Taylor Jenkins is an awesome coach, and they had a good thing rolling there. So there's been a lot of change there. I just think there still has to be that growth and that responsibility of Ja Morant as the face of the franchise, as one of the faces of Nike. You can't say things like this. You can't publicly go at your coach and ask the media to ask him and boil over to that point, especially when your team's losing, especially when everyone's frustrating. He basically just added to the fuel to the fire there, and he can't do that as a franchise player. Again, I think his time's running out there. I think he wants to be in a system where there's more structure, where there's more chance to win and compete and do it at the playoffs and kind of see him do what he does now on the biggest stage. That's going to help all these problems go away. But you just can't handle this situation like he did when you have that responsibility as the franchise piece.
Yeah, when they fired Taylor Jenkins and there were rumors like, oh, maybe Ja didn't like him, maybe this, that, and the other. I also don't think that this is the guy Ja would have picked either. So it felt like from the beginning, this was a weird experiment that was doomed to fail. And you guys have talked about the talent. That is that's obviously there. And Lou mentioned the fact that the numbers have gone down consistently over the last 3 seasons. So that being said, we love a good list. ESPN has him ranked at 33rd. I ask you, Boogie, I'll start with you. What is he in this league? A top what player?
He's a top 20 talent in this league, and that's saying a lot because it's a lot of talent in the league right now. Top talent, top 20 without a doubt on his worst day. I don't care about the headlines. I don't care about the situation. This kid is one of the top talents in this league, regardless.
Yeah, I think he's
Anyone?
in that top 25, top 30 range. There's no denying his talent. Like we've talked about that all episode long here. The kid is a hooper. He is explosive. He is so athletic. His numbers have been decreasing and his issues have been increasing. So that's the only issue really with John Morant. It's never going to be about that. If he's playing 30, 35 minutes a game, he's putting up 25, 8, and 6. Like he is that type of player. Now there's a lot of other really good players in this league and a lot of other players that have taken that step. But I think 33-ish is a little high, but I would maybe go somewhere between that 25, 30 range because he's still an elite player. He's still an all-star level talent. He just got to be available and he's got to be able to play and their team's got to win games. And neither of those are happening right now.
That is fair.
I'm with you both. Still a top 20. Yeah, he's still a top 20 talent. And listen, all things considered, will be a top 20 talent. I just want him to go out there and shut everybody up with his play. And let's stop talking about everything else besides that around Ja Morant. I just want him to kind of get out of this fog of people wanting to nitpick and have issues with him. I want him to get back to being from top 20 to a top 10. We got to lock back in on the hoop. That's where I'm at with it with Ja.
And it just feels like top 20. It feels like with him too, every issue is self-inflicted. Like you don't have to go and do what you did last. You don't have to go and say this to the media. And I know it's frustrated, but you have to have that maturity to not put yourself in this situation, given the history of everything that he's been through. So again, I hope he figures it out because I want to see him on the floor and I want to see him in the playoffs on a great team. I just don't think it's going to be. I
want to see him be successful. We all want to see him be successful. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun to be able to talk with strangers about Ja Morant and not them only think about the troubled stuff and not the fact that he's a great basketball player. Let's just assume he's getting traded. And I don't know if it's happening by Christmas. I don't know if it's happening at the trade deadline. But Chandler, in your mind, perfect case scenario, what team would be a great fit for him?
Like 2 teams that are contenders that both have starting point guards that are hurt. That's the Houston Rockets with Fred out, and that's the Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie out. I think they both have assets that could get them. They both have the money. They both have the structure where they could do some swaps. I like either of those teams. I think Udoka, a guy like him, would be great for John Morant. I really like Houston, and again, they have the Tari Easons. They have the assets that I think Memphis could be attracted to with possibly a rebuild situation when you lose a guy like John Morant. And Dallas, again, I think they have the PJ Washingtons and they have Klay Thompson that kind of matches salary wise, where John Morant could do a flip there and help this team right away and get into playoffs and make a deep run with one of those 2 teams.
Those kind of make sense to me. Anybody have anything additional, like another team?
No, I got written down right here. I got Houston, I got the Mavs, and I also have ATL written down with an asterisk next to it. That would probably be something more of the trade deadline based on how things work out with Trae Young and how they continue to move forward. So I had Atlanta as a sleeper pick just on something that I was thinking. But other than that, Houston and Mavs make a lot of sense to me as well.
For me, it's Houston. Obviously, they're in need of a point guard, but with the team that I would love to see him with, and I think those 2 guys would mesh well, is Minnesota. Minnesota is also in need of a point guard, and I think him next to Ant Edwards, I think that would be exciting for basketball. It'll be must-watch TV, and it's 2 guys that relate. They're cut from the same cloth. They understand each other. They can mesh on the floor, and I think they could, find a common goal in winning a championship together. So. I would love to see him in Minnesota.
The must-see TV of that is probably the truest thing that you said right there, which is crazy. Trae Young,
the most athletic backcourt of all time.
That's like the splashiest duo that you could possibly put on television at the same time. We're going to move on to Trae Young, Lou. So glad you brought him up. The news over the weekend, unfortunately, was that